はい。Hello? Hello?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Stanislava. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Stanislava. Good morning, Stanislava.
Hello there. I'm Dr. Julian Ng, Vice President of IVETA Europe and of Warnbro College. IVETA Europe is proud to be a partner on the SkillNet project. I'm here today to talk to you about teacher training or retraining in the vocational education and training sector, or VET as we call it. Over the last year and a half, I've been involved in an Erasmus Plus co-funded project called ProVet, which seeks to train or retrain over 600 teachers across Russia and Serbia. I'd like to share with you 3 observations from this ProVet project, which might give you pause for thought in terms of teacher training and retraining in the VET sector. The very first thing to consider is paradigm change. We have so many new ways of teaching now, mostly spurred on by technology, things like Zoom, distance learning, robotics, artificial intelligence, so many ways that we can change the nature of learning and teaching. And it's important to understand that these changes and learning how to cope with them is not just necessary, it is actually imperative for the future of learning. Moreover, you don't just have to consider the teachers, you have to also consider the learners. They have to change their own mindsets and paradigms about learning and working with technologies too. So, what is a paradigm? A paradigm is a habitual way of looking at the world. And as you know, habits are often quite difficult to break. So, how do we break these habits or change these paradigms? Which brings me to the next point, motivation. Well, you will only break a habit if you are motivated. And in the case of most teachers, it's usually employer-driven, whether or not it's related to pay or keeping your job. It's usually driven by what your employer wants of you. So if they don't request it, you probably will not be motivated to change. You can, of course, be self-motivated and want to learn and improve yourselves. That's a very, very wonderful thing, in fact. Or you could perhaps just believe in a higher purpose, that there is more to the teaching vocation than what is currently available, and you want to be an exponent of that. Wonderful. So that brings me to the third observation, the method of teaching, often called pedagogy. I bet you most of the teachers that you're going to train or retrain are over the age of 18, which makes them adults. So therefore, you may actually want to consider that you're not talking down to children, but you're teaching adults who can quite well think for themselves and probably have their own way of doing things. So perhaps rather than talking about pedagogy, you might want to look at andragogy, which is a completely different set of teaching methodologies. Now in pedagogy, the learner usually depends on the teacher for guidance, instruction, knowledge, and evaluation. However, andragogy gears learners towards self-actualization, learning from experience, and problem solving. So hopefully these 3 points will keep you thinking about teacher training or retraining in the VET sector: paradigm change, motivation, and pedagogy. Or should that be andragogy?
Okay, good morning. Good morning, everybody. I will take the floor now. We just watched this very inspirational video from Julian Ang, the Vice President of IVETA, the International Vocational Education and Training Association. I would like to welcome everybody to join today's webinar on lifelong learning, upskilling, and reskilling 50+. First of all, thank you very, very much to the Assembly of European Regions for their contribution to the organization of this webinar today. And thank you very much to our international speakers who will be presenting today. Elena Romanini, Anna Gale, and Michael Heaney. First thing first, as usual, a few tips. If you watch your screens right now, you will see that you all have your microphones muted by default. Today's webinar will consist of two main parts. Later, we will have first the three presentations from our international experts, and then we will have an interactive question and answer session. But throughout all the duration of the webinar, you will be able to write your questions and comments in the chat box. And then during the interactive session, a moderator will collect all the questions and we will be able to respond to those questions all together. And you can also raise your hand by clicking the raise hand button in the bottom bar that you see on your computer. And we will go through all the questions together in the second part. All right, so my name is Valentina De Vico. I am the communication manager of the Skillman team, and I will be moderating today's event as usual. Today, all right, let's move on with the next slide. All right, so today's event is organized under the umbrella of the SkillNet project. A project that is co-funded by the EU and that it's implementing a strategy to develop a large network of centers of vocational excellence. Today we're talking about lifelong learning, upskilling, and reskilling of adults. So what makes this topic really relevant in the world of today? Well, now more than ever, many regions in Europe face many challenges, we could say. Aging population, skills shortages. Our labor markets are changing and we're witnessing technological changes. And also digitalization is becoming a huge part of our lives, which requires new skills, of course. And the people over 50 usually are not the target group of the majority of employers. Therefore, we consider that upskilling and reskilling of adults has become quite a priority in the agenda of today. So with today's event, we want to highlight the relevance of EU funds opportunities in the field of lifelong learning. And also we want to share regional good practices by our international speakers on upskilling and reskilling. As I mentioned, those topics will be addressed by our three international speakers today. First of all, we will hear Maria Elena Romanini, the Senior Project Manager of the Skillman. Then after her, we will have Michael Heaney, the Chief Executive Officer of Uderas na Geltacha. And then Anna Gale, the Director of Usilistes, the Studium Institution for Adult Education. As always, I will try to be very short and give a short overview of the Skillman network and the activities that we've been implementing so far and that we will implement in the future. So probably if you join today's webinar, you are already a Skillman member. If you're not, well, then it's time to become one. So what is Skillman? Actually, Skillman is an international network that comprises a very huge group of stakeholders and very diversified nature of stakeholders. We have mainly TVET providers, but also universities, industries, individuals, and policymakers. Now, the network is the main backbone around which we have the development and the exchange of skills. The main sector where this network was actually created was the advanced manufacturing sector, but throughout the years, it has been broadened up to different other sectors. And since 2014, the year of the creation of this network, it has expanded really quickly. And now we have more than 550 active members from 84 different countries in the world. Now, the main objective of the network is to introduce and exchange skills, provide innovative curricula to companies, and facilitating cross-networking activities with international experts. This network is actually cooperating with a lot of international organizations, as you see in this slide. First of all, AER, the Assembly of European Regions, as I mentioned, that was involved in the organization of today's webinar. IVETA is the International Vocational Education and Training Association. Then Cumulus, the International Association of Universities and Colleges of Arts, Design and Media. And last April, the European Association for Practitioner Research on Improving Learning. Now, all these webinars that we have implemented and that we will keep on implementing in the future are facilitated by this number of international organizations and are done in cooperation with the European Training Foundation. Now, I just want to mention that today's event is live streamed on our YouTube channel, so the Skillman YouTube channel that Luca is sharing with us the link in the chat section. So if you have any technical issues or if you want to watch it live, it will be live streamed at this link that Luca is sharing now. Another important fact is that we really value your feedback on the evaluation of this event. So please take 5 minutes of your time to evaluate this webinar, the quality of the webinar proposed today. You can either scan the code that you see on your screen or click on the link that Luca, again, is sharing in the chat box. But we will give more of these info later. One last thing before giving the word to our first speaker, Elena Romanini, is that on the 10th and 11th of December this year, we're going to host our Skillman International Forum 2020. So please, if you are interested in joining, you just have to register for the occasion. Of course, this year the conference will be held online for obvious reasons. But so to guarantee a high rate of participation, please click on the link that Luca is currently sharing in our chat box. I will take the mic back later, and now I'm just going to leave the floor to Elena Romanini, our first speaker, the Senior Project Manager of the Skillman team. Thank you, Elena.
Thank you, Valentina. Thank you to all of you. Good morning, and thank you for joining our webinar. Thank you, Valentina, for your support in scrolling the slides so we can start saying that upskilling and reskilling is becoming one of the prior challenges for policymakers, education providers, and stakeholders in general, remarked by the new European skills agenda. And we can say also that this cruciality has brought, among other priorities, to the launch of the new European initiatives, a Pact for Skills. According to the World Economic Forum, children entering now the primary school at the end of their path will find a completely new environment and will probably work in profiles that do not exist yet. So a great evolution of the workforce is expected in the next years. At the same time, at the European level, we can see an increasing aging of populations and work population especially. This means that in the next years, up to 2070, according to these studies, labor force participation will see an increase of presence, both of women, but most of all, adult and older workers. We can also agree on the fact that at the moment we are looking at mega trends affecting our societies and communities. Disruptive and pervasive digitalization and greening, so the transition to sustainable production process and circular production processes, migration, and of course, COVID pandemic. We are facing hard times that, so they are increasing and strengthening the impacts on people and systems, increasing vulnerability of people, consequent risk of marginalization and social exclusions, increasing perception by people of inequality, isolation, anxiety, and insecurity. COVID pandemic and the forced transition to remote smart working activities and remote learning activities has shown a great digital divide among countries, different groups of people and groups of population. So these are, next slide please, Valentina, these are all challenges we have to take into account, and increasing and reinforcing the so-called resilience of people represents a necessary requirement for relaunching our communities and our economies. Regarding the role of educational providers, first of all, TVET providers in this new challenge, and specifically in relation to the new design of curricula and update skills, it's absolutely necessary to take care of the fact that this curricula has to balance, must balance, so we can say, beside work skills, also life skills, able to increase the capacity of adaptability of people, most of all, adults. Next slide, please, Valentina. Regarding adults in learning and training, and especially low-skilled adults who have the need of upskill and most of all, reskill, a wide spectrum of projects, initiatives, and researches have shown that the involvement, the engagement of this target is not so easy. It's absolutely complex for a wide panel of reasons, both objective, we can say, and subjectives. In the next slide, we can say an overview of these barriers to adult learning participations. The source is the OSD 2020, and we can see here above contextual items, conditions, and subjective conditions. Next slide, please. On the other hand, these researches and studies and implemented projects, first of all, has shown some valuable results and outcomes that we can valorize, and in the next and future activities, thinking about the design of new curricula and the new training and learning delivery, we can say. From one side, that is considered a resource. Vocational training is the capacity to permit to these target the achievement of skills and to support their work reinsertion. The design on the provision of tailored opportunities and the following individualized approaches seems to be an effective leverage for positive impacts training. The adoption of self-selection approaches, that means give to the potential participants the possibility to actively choose their training path together with specialized operators of deployment services seems to be a very effective leverage of engagement and also starting a dialogue with the target itself. All work-based experiences, so dual system trainings and work-based trainings in all its forms represent a leverage for making curricular and training opportunities very close to the labor market. So the recommendation is to try to co-design training opportunities with companies and business support organizations, strengthening as much as we can the business education partnership. Next slide, please. Furthermore, the provision of tailored guidance and follow-up services, so scaffolding services, since the access to the training opportunity and then the redeployment of the training opportunities themselves seems to be a very important leverage, both of engagement and also for maintaining this involvement of the target, also according to a continuous learning approach, not only for a training, a spot training, but also for building together a training path. The involvement in this engagement process of companies and employers seems to be very effective in order to give the possibility to have a debate, a comparison among the target and also the potential companies where this target could be reinserted. A very wide delivery offer, a very wide training and learning offer can help the involvement of this target. And also the multi-stakeholder involvement in this delivery could enhance opportunities for tailored provision and also for spreading the accessibility as much as possible. In these, the opportunity for the target to access to integrated platforms where both training opportunities and related support services can be assessed could be very useful, both for coordinating the offer, considering the multi-stakeholder intervention, as I said before, and on the other side, for guaranteeing to the target full accessibility, proper information to all potential beneficiaries, and also the possibility to have the feedback for fine-tuning the delivery system and the quality of the training offer itself. Last but not least, the COVID-19 crisis has forced the increase of online learning by adults, both from skilled adults and low-skilled ones. So recent studies, ongoing studies, to tell you the truth, seems to underline that online training could be an opportunity for engagement of low-skilled adults, for reskilling and upskilling of these difficult targets, and could represent a significant advantage for permitting them new chances to active citizenship and to be a part of the active workforce. On the other hand, necessary intervention has to be thought in supporting the achievement of digital skills and also in motivation. And we saw in the first video at the beginning, so motivation to online learning is very important for all the target, but specifically for these, so low-skilled adults. So scaffolding services have to be thought, designed, and implemented according to a learning management system approach. Finally, also training the trainers and the teachers, and in order that them achieve the correct panel of skills could be very strategic for engaging adults in online learning. By the way, we can say that digital transformational learning is not switching from traditional learning to digital delivery, but it implies a comprehensive redesign of the training offer. So of course, upskilling of teachers and trainers and designers of the training opportunities is crucial. From a delivery point of view, from a methodological point of view, the use of new methodology able to be very immersive, to very engaging as micro-learning seems to be very effective. So what is micro-learning? Is a new methodology very supported by the digitalization of learning, we can say, and is characterized by a specific approach to the construction of the pieces of learning or training and the related learning outcomes. We can imagine a structure of each piece of learning as a tree with interrelated modules of pieces of learning, but at the same time, each piece is self-consistent and can be evaluated in terms of learning outcomes. This structure can help the reactivation, the mobilization of the resources that these adults have for previous experiences, formal and non-formal, of course. Connected to this approach for engagement of this target could be strategic to underline, to provide, offer, able to be very valuable, concretely valuable for their reinsertion into the labor market. So we have to think about systematic approaches to validation and of competencies, skills and competencies, systematic approaches to certification of achieved competencies and previous learning outcomes. And for example, some innovative solutions seem to be very useful, very challenging for this. I'm referring to the so-called digital badges. So, thank you very much for your attention. These are some inputs for further discussion. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Elena, to you and your outstanding presentation. As usual, time is running fast, so we will quickly move on to the next topic. And before doing that, I would like to say that Skillman is launching the annual online video contest based on, well, under the umbrella of the Ethical Skills Awards. So keep updated on this. We will send more information about this. This is just a quick mention of the online video contest that we will launch in the occasion of the International Forum in December. Our next speaker, our honorable speaker, Michael Heaney, the Chief Executive Officer from Udarasna Gaeltacha, I'm sorry for my bad pronunciation, from Ireland. I would just to you, and thank you very much for your contribution, Mr. Heaney.
Thank you very much, Valentina. Goramila Mahagat. I'm very happy to be with you here this morning to talk about our work in Udaras na Gaeltachta. Just in terms of the slides there, Valentina, you could go on, please, to the next slide.
Right.
Yeah, just a little bit. Udaras na Gaeltachta is one of the 3 economic development agencies that work in the Republic of Ireland. We're the smallest by far, but we're unique in as much as we have an additional mission, which is to preserve and expand the use of the Irish language as a community language in the communities that we serve. So as well as the economic mission, we also have a social and cultural mission. As well as job creation, we're also involved very much in community development through our network of community co-ops and other organizations. And we also are involved in language planning to sustain and promote the Irish language. And our region covers small areas along the west coast of Ireland, mainly, including small offshore islands. So we're based along these rural areas from the very north in Donegal to the very south in Cork. And we're involved in mainly peripheral rural locations. But we have long experience in the whole area of development. Could we go on to the next slide, please, Valentina, if that's okay? Yeah. Our strategic objective in the area of training and educational development is the building of capacity and high quality skills among the Gaeltacht population. This is very important when you think of the region that we're serving. And when we started off as an organization 40 years ago, a very low level of skills, vast outward migration, poor educational retention, and so on. Part of our challenge was to develop economically, but we needed to develop skills to ensure that that would happen. And our overall strategy, which we implement as an organization, has two main parts. One is to foster innovation and increase enterprise and employment opportunities. And secondly, to support language development, community development, and the development of cultural resources. And the types of training and capacity building that we're involved in is very much based around these two areas, and very often crosses between the two areas. And we've got a long list, a long history of being involved in education, capacity building, and developing skills in the Gaeltacht. Could we go on to the next slide, please, Valentina, if that's okay? Just to give an indication of the types of training and educational programs that we provide. And many of these would have started off as being for people who were relatively young and leaving school. But as time goes on and there's more and more emphasis on reskilling and getting involved in new sectors, these programs are more and more devoted to people of all ages. We've got people on these programs from the ages of 21 to the ages of 60 in terms of that. And we very much are focused on lifelong learning and all of these things. And we run an apprentice scheme, which I'll speak a little bit more about later. We run a graduate scheme for industry to ensure that graduates can learn and benefit industries and develop careers for themselves. Very recently, we saw that there was a need for a graduate scheme to support social economy projects, because more and more social economy projects were coming forward with job opportunities, but with needs for management skills. A local enterprise mentoring program, because we're very involved in job creation, a lot of it based on small industry. So we do hands-on mentoring and skills development with entrepreneurs to assist them in their own development and in developing their business. Community and culture training scheme, we've got a subsidiary company that's devoted to developing all aspects of culture and the arts. And we provide types of training for people, again, of all ages, to ensure that they have the skills to actually run art organizations and cultural organizations and so on. And they might be very good at one thing, but sometimes they're lacking in these skills. So we work with them to ensure that they're able to manage their business as well and so on, and get them skills. Early education training scheme is an example of where a lot of people that might have been working, say, in the textile industry and lost their jobs, opportunities arose, say, in things like childcare, where there was a growth, and in elderly care as well. And we provide on-the-job training for these people to ensure that they can get qualifications while they're learning and working in these new sectors. Early education training scheme, that's media and skills development. We're very involved in the whole area of developing skills for the media. An Irish language TV station was set up 20 years ago, and we would have been very involved in ensuring that the skills were made available for people, local people with the Irish language, to work in this channel, because the skills weren't available locally. We did a lot of training leading up to the launch of that station, and we do it on an ongoing basis, and I'll say a little bit more about that later. Health services and skills development, what we do is it's essential for us to ensure that people, that whether it be doctors, nurses, physiotherapists, that they're available to provide these services through the Irish language in our areas. So we work with the health board, the HSE, to actually provide bursaries to people with an ability in the Irish language to be able to undertake these specialist medical training. A tourism management scheme, I'll say a little bit more about later. In terms of skills for growth, I think that's very important, because in terms, we employ, our client companies employ 8,000 people throughout the Gaeltacht regions, and this is very important in our regions. And there's a constant need to upskill, to reskill, and we work with the companies to provide programs, tailored programs for the companies, working in conjunction with relevant training authorities to ensure that they can acquire the necessary skills, reskilling, upskilling, to remain competitive. It's also very important for us in terms of replacement employment. An awful lot of our traditional industries would have gone by the wayside in common with other areas over the past couple of decades, leaving a lot of people unemployed. So we provide training programs to direct these people to new opportunities in new sectors. We run employment programs for long-term unemployed and others. We have over 1,000 people on them. But as well as providing employment, community employment, rural employment, and so on, we provide training and upskilling for the people, so that if there are opportunities coming up in new sectors, that they'll be available to take them on. So as well as the employment programs, there is very much a training focus there as well. And in terms of research in conjunction with third level institutes, again, that provides opportunities for graduates to upgrade and to further their own skills and qualifications and so on. And in all of this training, we work very closely with our local education and training boards, with our institutes of technology, and with the universities in all of these, in terms of tailoring programs, delivering programs, qualifications, and so on. Could we go on to the next slide, please, Valentina? Just to say a little bit about our apprentice schemes. We were starting off from a very low base in the 1970s, where there were no skills even to build the factories that we needed to invest in, to attract investment and so on. So we would have put a big emphasis on apprenticeships from a very early stage in that context. And these would have been in the more traditional apprenticeships as we would have seen them, things like carpentry, electrical, block laying, plumbing, and so on, all of those. And that's still very important to us and provides an awful lot of important employment. But now we're getting more and more into more of the new age apprenticeships, where people are more advanced industries, our med tech companies and others are taking people on as apprentices at various ages, and that rather than spending 5-6 years in university and then coming into the company, that and a lot of you would be familiar with this approach in European context, that they come on the job and in apprenticeships, and they develop their qualifications while on the job. And that's something that more and more of our companies are getting involved in. And these are in different types of sectors. And at present, we have 106 people on the apprenticeship scheme that we're running. Could we go on to the next slide, please, Valentina? And this gives you an indication of the types of sectors. Too many to go through, but it's very, very widespread. Some of them in more traditional areas that we would have dealt with, some of them in new areas, but it's an approach that we're advocating more and more to on-the-job apprenticeship development of skills. So could we go on to the next slide, please, Valentina? The graduate development scheme that I mentioned is very important for us because, and just to say before I leave the apprenticeships and going back to younger people, we would have had a big tendency of a race to have everybody get into third level education, into universities or Institute of Technologies. That didn't suit everybody. So we're working with schools and we're setting a target of maybe 20% of school leavers to go into apprenticeships. And we're piloting that with some of our local schools, which I think is more suitable and more valuable for the participants. But sorry, just in terms of the graduate development program, very important for us in terms of the graduate development program that we've got a lot of companies, a lot of new areas and so on. We've also got people that would have gone through college, would have gained various skills, might be working in different sectors and so on. But what we're trying to do is to marry the needs of these companies and their skill requirements with people that are graduates in whatever discipline, and to bring them on board, to develop them in upgrading their skills, giving them new skills, and contributing to the company. And this is very important in as much as we're getting into an awful lot of new sectors and putting a lot of focus on new sectors such as the green economy, renewable energy, new types of niche manufacturing, a very large growth for us in language and translation services, and the whole area of the marine resource. So it's very important for us to take people with their basic degrees, their basic qualifications, to bring them into companies and to develop them for their own benefit and for the benefit of the companies. And can we go on to the next slide, please, Valentina, if that's okay? Could we go on to the next slide, please? Yeah, sorry, yeah, thank you. Tourism management scheme. I'm mentioning this because the areas that we deal with, well, they're peripheral, they're really beautiful, and they have all kinds of attractions. And we've been investing in a big way in capital tourism projects over the past number of years. And a lot of people are attracted to them, and this is an important part of our economy, and it will remain so. But what we found was that when we were putting in this investment, we didn't actually have the skills of people to manage them. So we would have had to take outsiders and sometimes people without a proficiency in the Irish language to manage them. So it was necessary for us to work with these projects to have a program where we could bring in people from all kinds of backgrounds. We have 15 people at the moment that are working with projects, and they might have come from very, very diverse backgrounds, different ages, but they're getting involved with the projects and learning all of the skills about managing those projects. So we're developing a cohort and a resource of management skills for these tourism projects. And again, I think a lot of these people, when they left school and when they did their initial training, their initial work, mightn't have thought they were going to end up in tourism. But this is an example of the new opportunities that are arising for us, and where we respond by ensuring that we can provide the skills for them to get into these sectors. Could we have the next slide, please? Those are just some of the examples of the types of projects that we have in our region that we're capitalizing on and developing skills to manage. The next slide, please, Valentina, if that's okay. I mentioned how important the whole area of media training and training in the audio-visual TV production, filmmaking was so important in our region. And we did initial training going back 30 years ago, before the development of our Irish language TV program. But based on that, there's a vibrant, not TV and film industry, based mainly around the Galway region, arising from all of the training that was done over the years. And we work on an ongoing basis with the TV station. An example is the media training and skills development that we're running at the moment with TG Cahir, which is that station, to actually work with production companies to bring people on, again, from diverse backgrounds, and to develop their skills in TV production. And we do this directly with the TV company. We also work with a range of our production companies in the Gaeltacht. And we have quite a number of programs that are being undertaken at present in terms of the whole area of audio-visual development. But again, it's a sector that provides opportunities for employment. It's important for us that we have Irish speakers that are able to avail of those opportunities. So it's a win-win situation. If we can provide the training and get the people into these, it's very important for us in that context. So just as I said, I think the examples are that as a development agency, we're very much focused on ensuring that we are providing employment opportunities, that we're developing communities, that we're developing the Irish language. Training and education and skills is central to that, both in its own right to be able to advance these sectors, but also with the added dimension that we're dealing with a minority language. Even though it's an official European language, it's a minority language. And it's and we have that added onus at all times to ensure that the skills necessary to develop our economy are available through the Irish language. So we're providing these like everybody else. We're relying more and more on distance education at the moment, but that was something we always had in mind, because we deliver training to very remote areas and to offshore islands, and we have a network of 30 digital hubs that are becoming more and more centers and focal points for delivering training. So with that, Valentina, I'll just leave it, but hopefully that gives you an overview of the types of work that we're carrying on as a development based in the west of Ireland. Thank you.
Indeed, Michael, that was very useful. Thank you for your overview on the training and education schemes related to upskilling and reskilling in Ireland. That was indeed a very good overview and very detailed. Thank you very much for your contribution. I would just that was just the first of the examples on this regard that we have today at this webinar. Now, just before going to the second example that we brought today with the Croatian example of Anna Gale, I would just say that all our events are fully integrated with the European Vocational Skills Week, so that we are organizing those events, including the one today, under the umbrella of the Vocational Skills Week. Just a quick mention about that. And now, as I mentioned, we are going to see the second example of excellence today that Anna Gale is providing us with, and that would be the example of Croatia. Anna, the floor is yours. Anna, can you hear me?
Okay, thank you, Valentina.
No problem.
Okay, we can start. So my name is Ana Gale, and I'm coming from Croatia, Adult Education Institution Studium from Vukovar. Next slide, please. So just a few words about us. Adult Education Institution Studium was founded in 2010. With multiple years of experience in the field of training, retraining, and upskilling, allows us to continually change the qualitative structure of the working population and potential workforce in the Republic of Croatia. We are extremely proud of the levels of knowledge and skills that our learners achieve upon finishing the education programs at Studium. We work now at 6 cities. We have more than 4,000 students and 20 projects funded by European Union. And we have developed more than 150 different education programs. Next slide, please. Thank you. Education Institution Studium has so far been involved in 8 and currently has 12 ongoing projects funded by European Union. We have 8 funded by European Social Fund, 2 Erasmus Plus projects, and 2 Interreg cross-border cooperation program Croatia-Serbia. Next slide, please. Current So Eurostat estimates that up to 82% of the unemployment population older than 54 years of age is faced with the long-term unemployed. According to the data provided by the Croatian Employment Service, over 50,000 unemployed citizens over the age of 50 does not possess adequate skills necessary for the integration into the labor market or adequate and modern knowledge and competences. This calls for specific trainings and the development of their skills and knowledge in accordance to the requirements of the labor market. They lack in relevant working and practical experience, which combined with all the existing prejudice makes them less desirable for the employers, and they therefore need more support. ESF funding will allow trainings, retraining, and upskilling for the vulnerable groups in accordance to the actual requirements of the labor market, with the goal of increasing employability and the development of relevant skills. Besides European Social Fund, the skills development of the group 50 plus population can also be financed through the Erasmus or Interreg projects. Next slide, please. We are mostly working with low-skilled persons, 50 plus group. So the most common education chosen by them is caretaker for elderly and disabled, ecological farming, cultivation, processing or aromatic plants and herbs, and basic of computing. Next slide, please. So some of characteristic for that target group is that they are baby boom generation. They are born between 1943 and 1960. They were born after the Second World War, enveloping period of extreme optimism, great opportunities, and progress. So next slide, please, Valentina. Thank you. So some of them, some of characteristics for baby boomers are that they are strong. They have strong work ethic. They are self-assured. They are competitive, goal-centric, resourceful, mentally focused, team-oriented, and disciplined. So it's important to know that when working with them. Next slide, please. But on the there are some detectable differences within the group in field of work between management positions and manual workers. So manager positions or white collar, most of them stay at the same establishment, but they are often distributed to the lower positions, mostly consultant positions. But manual operative workers are considered unproductive and their knowledge is seen as outdated and obsolete. So we have common stereotype that senior workers are less productive and redundant, and we have a risk of social exclusion and higher rates of poverty. Next slide, thank you. So people over 50 years of age face lower rates of employability in the Republic of Croatia. 75% of them are considered long-term unemployed. They are employed for a year or longer. And once they become unemployed, people over 50 years of age tend to remain unemployed, unfortunately. So next slide, please. But we have 4 groups based on different lifestyles for person 50 plus from I understand. So we have hardworking and home-oriented seniors, 31%. They are self-satisfied, skeptical, they have aversion towards new experiences, and they consider safety very important. Then we have security and togetherness-oriented seniors, 29%. They possess a critical approach. They're serious and disciplined in all activities, and they're not spontaneous. Then you have 15% of resigned and reserved seniors. They, for example, enjoy gardening and housework. They are pessimistic, often lonely and resigned, and consider safety very important. And then you have 25% of active and youthful seniors. They actually spend their free time. They're interested in culture and like to explore new interests, and they take responsibility, enjoy life, and seek new knowledge. So if your target group is that 25%, you're very lucky because it's easy to work with them. So next slide, please. This is some psychological characteristic of the senior population, that they are egocentric, unreal expectations. They have some of them have an inferiority complex. They have aversion toward change. For example, in our experience, if you need, for example, to change their teacher because of some reason, they don't react very good at that. They need to have a privately good friendly relationship with the lecturers. They have criticism, loneliness, sensitivity, and so on. Next slide, please. So what do we need to know when we are working with this target group? They have changes in abilities. They have slower motor skills, so we need to think about that. They have lower sensory and physical capabilities like sight, hearing, memory, or some health issues. They have slower but not lower intellectual capacity, so it's necessary to provide more time for some activities. They need to transfer knowledge and learning. They have importance to intrinsic motivation. So we need to have high number of repetitions, and they relate their rich life experience with the subject matter. Next slide, thank you. So our experience has proven that motivation is the key factor in the 50+ age group enrollment in education program. As already mentioned, some of the characteristics of people over 50 years of age is lower self-esteem, aversion towards change, and especially towards education enrollment. The most common reason is the amount of time passed since their last education experience. For that reason, people over 50 often believe that they are not able to learn new things and that their memory and capabilities are inadequate. So in order to avoid this, motivational workshops are organized for this target group before the beginning of their education programs in order to ensure their motivation stays high and to decrease the dropout rates. So before every education program, we have that kind of motivation workshops for that target group. So next slide, please. Thank you, Valentina. For the end, this one quote that the only skill that will be important in 21st century is the skill of learning new skills. So thank you again for your attention.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you very much. And thank you for leaving us with this last quote. So again, I want to emphasize it because it's actually at the central essence of what we are talking about today. The only skill that will be important in the 21st century is the skill of learning new skills. Everything else will become obsolete over time. Well, yes, that's probably something that we can keep on discussing in our interactive session after your presentation. So we had 3 different points of view that were shared with us today and that we had the privilege of listening today. The one more general overview from Elena Romanini, giving let's say a first interaction on general overview of the lifelong learning. And then the 2 examples, one from Ireland, from Michael Heaney, and one from Anna Gale from Croatia. And with that, we could say that we can move on to the next session, which is our interactive session. And for this, I would like our moderator, Elena Romanini, to also help me to collect the questions that our audience have proposed to us and have collected, and to address those questions directly to the different speakers, to Elena, Anna, and Michael, and to start a real discussion about this in this interactive time. So Elena, would you like to start? Do you have some questions to share with us, first of all?
Yes, I have collected to one question that, in my opinion, is very interesting and can be, we can ask this to both our relators, so Anna and Michael. The question is, in the development of your intervention schemes and your programs supporting upskilling and reskilling, regarding the design of the process, how do you involve other stakeholders, so companies, for example, of the territory, or other business support organizations, other actors, in order to co-design the program? So is it a participatory approach to the construction of these schemes? I think that in this way I can summarize the question. And in my opinion, if both Anna and Michael will answer, could be interesting for us.
Michael, do you want to go first, and then we will hear Anna as a second? Okay. You are muted now. Just please switch on your mic. That's it.
Okay, fine. Yeah, I suppose in terms of two approaches to this. First of all, in terms of the companies that we deal with, and secondly, in terms of the sectors that we focus on. And in terms of the companies that we deal with, we're very much focused on the identified needs by the companies of where their skills requirements are and where the gaps might be in terms of their existing complement of staff, or if they need to bring new skills on board. But it's very much focused on the companies in that context. And we bring in the expertise then of our education and training boards, or the Institutes of Technology mainly, to actually sit down with us and with the companies and to tailor a program at whatever level is required to address those needs and to address those skills gaps, the upskilling very often, or reskilling in some cases, or in terms of new programs to attract new potential employees. But it's very much focused on the company's needs, and it's very much participatory in terms of part of it might be off the shelf in terms of it might fit in with a certified program or whatever, but it's very much ensuring that the needs of the company are addressed. And there is that flexibility and there is that agility in terms of the Institute's technology and their education and training boards and their own responses to ensure that something isn't imposed that isn't of full use, that it is very much a collaborative effort. And secondly, in terms of the resources, the new sectors, the sectors that we need to focus on, that, as I said, when we went into something like the tourism area, it was very evident that we didn't have the skills in that sector. So we take the initiative very often in terms of providing training programs. Years ago in the audiovisual and on an ongoing basis now, tourism at the moment, our next strategy will be very focused on the green economy and how do we develop the skills to be able to drive that sector forward. But in all cases, whether it be with companies, whether it be with community groups, whatever our partner might be in a given situation, it is very much a collaborative, participatory effort.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Anna, do you have anything to add to what Michael said, and you want to integrate with your comments?
I can say just one experience from our point of view. The most common way to develop some of our programs are that we first conduct a needs survey with employers. So based on the research, we develop programs. Then we form a working group for creation of program in which we always try to include employers, lecturers, and experts from certain fields. So that's the way that we do it.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a second question, if I may, Valentina.
Sure, you go on.
Question from Mr. McFellowy. What role would you see for apprenticeships in terms of upskilling and reskilling, which have traditionally been seen as an intervention for new entrants to the labor market?
Do we know who this question is addressed to?
No, but I think it could be Michael, first of all, because the focus on apprenticeship schemes has been faced during his presentation. Of course, it's open to both the relators.
Michael, we can't hear you, so you would need to switch on the mic. Still nothing?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry about that. I think that it has been an issue that people felt that you had to go into apprenticeships directly after school, and that was the traditional way it was looked at. What we're and it still is mainly the case that most of the apprenticeships that we support at the moment are that, but we are trying to get the word out, and we are working with companies. If you take in terms of the new apprenticeships, there might have been people working as general operatives or operatives in a company who didn't have a specific skill set. And the companies have identified the potential, whatever age these people might be, they might be with the company 10 years more, that if these people are willing to undergo what we call the new apprenticeship approach on the job, that we're encouraging people to do that. And I think what we need to do is to make it very clear in the context of, and it's a mentality that is changing, but this mentality, when I left school, that you went into a job and you were in that job for life or in that sector, whatever, that has changed. It is changing, not as fast in apprenticeships, but it will change in terms of we're making people very aware that that pathway is open to them, whatever age they might be, subject to them and the companies being open to that. But we certainly don't have any barriers up. In fact, the opposite would be, we would actively encourage a broader participation in apprenticeships.
Thank you very much. Anna, would you like to add anything? No. Okay. So another question by Julian. Thank you very much, Julian, for this. The question is, some of the older people can feel they cannot compete with the so-called millennials in terms of technology-related skills. How would you convince these people that they have still potential and they could be upskilled, reskilled, or anyway they can be still competitive in a sense? I think that both of the relators can answer to this in relation to their direct experience, of course.
Yeah. Would you like me to go first?
Sure.
Yes,
yeah.
please.
That is an issue. It's something we're trying to overcome, but I'll just give one example. In our digital hub in West Donegal, we worked with a large company which was based in Letterkenny, who established an outreach center in this rural location. They had a need for software testing engineers, and we worked with our local education and training board to provide a tailored program where we took on 15 people who would actually, on completion of that course, be taken on as software testers for the company. And the age of those people, and this is a very high-tech company, very modern company, seen as such in Ireland and abroad. The age profile of these people, I don't think, there might have been 2 out of 15 who were under 30, and some of them were in their 40s. And they were able to come on board, and they were able to actually complete the program, and given the proper support, for the confidence, and the various supports that would be required. I mean, we use that as an example of showing this is not age related, even though the perception might be that that people are this is young people's game. It's not so, and I just use that as an example of something that we did in Gweedore in the West Donegal Gaeltacht with a company called Primerica, and it's a model that we'll use in other areas as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Michael. Anna, please.
The best way to convince them is to have good examples. We really have a lot of them, not only for persons who completely changed their careers and became successful in that new field, but also great examples of for example, one gentleman that came to us after completing the education, and said that his wife fell in love with him all over again, because this education actually make him self-confidence increased, and he was optimistic and have more topics to talk about. So his life changed for not only not only for education, but for private. So.
Okay, so best practices and good examples or success stories anyway to empower other potential trainees or learners. Okay, thank you very much, Anna. We have another question, Valentina. What options are there for international students? Do you work only in your country? So do you offer these schemes you presented only for, locals, we can say, or not?
Who is this for?
It's general. So I think that in case, once again, both the relators can provide an answer. So Anna, it's your time for.
Okay, yes, we are open for all, not only local. For example, we have, as I mentioned, some cross-border projects that we are producing. So yes, we are open for all people who are interested in our education.
Okay, so you have opportunities, and also in case incentives or financed opportunities for international projects, also for international students or youngsters or even adults, because we have discussed about different kind of projects you are implemented in your reality, right? I understanding the correct way.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And what about you, Michael? I saw that in your presentation, you presented that your schemes are very related to Irish people. You asked for a good knowledge of Irish language, if I remember well. But are you open anyway to participation to international targets?
We can't hear. Still can't hear you.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know what's, excuse me, I don't know what's happening there. Well, there is the focus on the Irish language. We're also a very open economy. A big part of our economy is attracting back people, the children of immigrants who might have gone to the United States or Scotland or the United Kingdom, whatever. So, and as well as that, we're open to people from other parts of Ireland. So in terms of vocational training and the training that I mentioned there in terms of the software testing and so on, we do provide training through the medium of English, and that's open to anybody from Ireland or any part of Europe or returned immigrants from the United States. So I wouldn't like to think that I would like people to think that well, Irish is very, very important to us and a key focus in terms of the vocational skills and the upskilling and so on, that we do provide a lot through the medium of English, which is open to anybody, and we welcome people who want to participate in our communities and our economy. So there's no bar there. But if courses are in Irish, well, then there is that slight bar. But we'll work with people to learn Irish if they wish. But there are opportunities there, and we do have a very open community here in that context.
Thank you very much. Valentina, the stage is yours. I think I don't have no further answers for the moment.
Yeah, and the time is coming to an end. So yes, we can quickly wrap up this webinar of today. Again, I would like to stress a few points before closing. The first one is that your feedback is very valuable. So for all the participants, we invite you to send a feedback on the evaluating this the quality of this webinar. You can do it at this link that Luca will share with you very soon, or scanning the QR code that you see on your screen. Again, you will find the recording of this session on YouTube, on our Skillman YouTube channel, that you can subscribe to access all the materials of the previous webinars and the one from today, and the ones that will be organized in the upcoming months. So our next event is going to be very soon, specifically next Tuesday, the October 27th at 10 Central European Time. It will be a very interesting event about word-based learning curriculum development. And this specific webinar will be done in cooperation with the European Training Foundation. So my colleague is sharing with you the link to register to this event. We hope to have high participation rates, because this is a particularly interesting event that we want to share with you. And I would like to thank once again our international speakers who took the time to participate with us today and share their experiences, share their opinions and views on the lifelong learning, upskilling and reskilling adults 50 plus. Thank you all for participating. Please get in touch if you have any further questions, and we will be happy to answer those questions. I wish you all a very nice day, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Have a good day.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.